What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Next Steel podcast. I'm your host, Justin Dossie, and of course, always joined by my lovely co-host, Vince. Thanks for showing up today, Vince. I'm glad you were able to make it, even though there's no question anyway that you were going to be here. So,
always.
If you're listening, just tuning in, make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff so we can get this out to more people. Very excited for today's guest. This one was booked a little while ago, and I was wondering what week it was, so I'm excited that she is on today. But our good friend Tarah Fernandez is here. Tarah, how are you?
I am good. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful. If you guys don't know who Tarah is, her and her husband Billy run a company. I know it's Bumblebee is your name, but is it Bumblebee Properties?
Yes, Bumblebee Properties.
Bumblebee Properties out of North Dallas area. We've been friends with them for a while, and they started in 2020 and have done 200 deals since then. So primarily wholesaling, if I understand correctly.
Yes, primarily.
Awesome. Yeah, so this will be a fun episode for anyone that's listening, and even Tarah, I know this will be a fun one for us just because we've known each other for a while now. But to kind of get started, I know you guys just started in 2020. Let's start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you guys got started, and why you even started real estate investing.
Sure. So we run, like you said, Bumblebee Properties. We're a home acquisition company. We do wholesales, flips, and buy and holds for primarily the single family space in DFW, North Texas area. And we got our start really back in 2019, 2020. Both Billy and myself were working regular W-2 jobs. We were both in the healthcare space on the vendor side. I sold healthcare IT solutions into hospitals. Billy was on, he did operations for a large medical device company. And we basically we did what we were supposed to do, right? You got a good job, you went to a good college, got a good job, did all the things you were supposed to do. And we were traveling a lot. We both had traveling jobs. And so every week one of us was gone. And that just kind of, I was in my late 20s and I was thinking, if and when we don't have kids right now, but if and when we do have kids, I don't want to be the mom that's missing soccer practices and all that stuff. So is there something that I can do that generates a little bit of passive income so I don't have to travel so much for my job? Or maybe I can switch jobs and work from home and like have a little bit of extra income going on. So that's kind of where our real estate journey started. We picked up two rentals, and figured out like, oh, this rental game is actually really hard to find cash flowing rentals, especially here in Texas, because property taxes are a little crazy. So we thought, gosh, okay, this is a little slow. Is there any way we can speed this up a bit? Because if you know, Billy and I were pretty impatient. And if we do two things, we want to do 100 things. So we were reading every single real estate book you could. I listened to podcasts every morning, pretty much every morning, maybe not on weekends, but, at the gym, before working. And Bigger Pockets was obviously, the podcast everyone listened to, at least a few years ago. And I stumbled upon your brother, Ryan, and his podcast. And I just thought he stood out to me just as someone who was very authentic in how he spoke and what he did. And so I stalked him on Instagram for probably a good 6 to 8 months and then decided to join his program and got introduced to the wholesaling concept. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So that was probably a little bit deeper than what you were asking for.
No, that's great.
That's what we do.
Perfect.
We had one guest, we asked that question, and I don't think we talked for 40 minutes after that because he went into a very long explanation. So 4 or 5 minutes is good. It's good. So
that was perfect.
Yeah, no, that was great. So you started 2019, 2020. One thing I want to point out with you guys is you are the most consistent people I know in real estate right now. At least from a client base, from friends that we have that we've known for a little while. There's an interesting thing that you'll see when you're in coaching groups. And I know you've seen it, I've seen it, where everyone has access to the same information. Every single person has the ability to do the same stuff. And it's like 20% of the people really are successful within a couple years from doing that. So I want to kind of break into that for a second of what did you guys do differently from others, even though you guys are getting the same information? Like what was the differentiating thing for you that's kind of helped catapult you guys to where you're at now? And I know the answer, but not everyone does. But I'm kind of curious, like what have you guys done on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, to make sure that you guys have been able to see the levels of success that you have?
Sure. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with consistency. I'm a really good rule follower. I like to follow
Okay.
directions.
Yeah.
And I think I've now been able to explain it, but my entire life, I am no smarter than the average person. I don't have any special skill sets. Like I was never blessed with something that I was like miraculously good at. I've always had to work super hard to just be like okay at anything.
Mm.
And so I think my kind of like what gave me the consistency was just learning from others on what they did really well and just taking that and implementing it as quickly as possible. So when we got started with wholesaling, it was pretty much laid out for us. Like this is exactly how you start a branding exercise. This is what you do for sending out mailers. Here's the list to pull. This is how many times you need to, how many mailers to drop in order to get a deal, um, and on and on and on. And following that. I don't know how many calls I'm on lately where people are like, yeah, I followed, like I pulled this list and I mailed it once. And I'm like,
You didn't get a
okay,
result?
yeah, you didn't get a result. And so you dive into it and it's like, well, no, they didn't really mail the list they were supposed to. And instead of mailing, whatever, 3,000 letters, they only mailed 700 of them. And instead of doing, first class stamps, they did pre-sorted. So it's like those little details in the video that says, pull this exact list, mail at least 2,500. Make sure they're first class versus pre-sorted, which you think those little details most people miss and they just skim over that. I think that's kind of what made us move so quickly because we followed the directions consistently.
Yeah. The first class is awesome, and it is a very simple, subtle detail that when that's locally postmarked in your area, people still look at that too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Rather than it coming from a distribution center in St. Louis and they see it locally postmarked. That's a big deal for people, you know, that it came from their own town. Yeah.
Well, and most people don't realize too that it's delivered totally differently than pre-sorted and bulk mail is, right? Like if it's a postcard or a pre-sort bulk mail, it's always delivered on a day where you get other advertisements, we call it junk mail day, right? Like at your house, there's usually a day of the week where you have junk mail. And I think where I live, it's Mondays. And it's like, that's when all the crap's in there. Tuesday through Friday, it's almost an empty mailbox. That's when I want to be in the people's mailboxes on that day. So you have a little bit more control where no matter what, you could send bulk mail on a Thursday. It's going to get held until the next marketing day, whatever it is, and be delivered with that. That's part of how that mail system works. So there's a couple of things with it. Like you said, local postmarks, the way it's delivered a little bit quicker as well. But yeah, all those little, like Tara said, those minute differences and details really add up. And it's been cool to watch you guys because I see your orders come in all the time on the ballpoint side. And it's like a couple years ago, you guys did start at 2,500 pieces a month and we're consistent with it every single month. And then it's like every, 3 to 6 months, you see an increase to where, what's your guys' goal this year for houses?
We want 365 contracts, 280 deals.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. How many did you do last month?
26.
Wow.
Well on the way.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's literally consistency is what it comes down to. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this because I used to struggle with this and I know a lot of people do too. But you get the people that say, well, sometimes I don't feel motivated to do that. Right. I'm not motivated to be consistent. I'm not motivated to do the same thing every single day. So what would you say to somebody like that?
Me too. I wasn't motivated to go to the gym this morning, but I did it just because it's better going to the gym and feeling good afterwards than skipping the gym and feeling like, not yourself for the rest of the day. So motivation only goes so far. I think having those habits and like your belief system of I want a better life for myself. And in order to get to that better life for myself, I need to create consistent daily tasks. People call them tasks, habits, rituals, whatever you want to call it, something that you're doing every single day, day after day, even though you may not want to do it. It starts to become like your brain starts to, once you start repeating things over and over again, it becomes easier and easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be really hard for me to order mail every week because it just was like, oh, that's going to take me so long to pull the lists and sort through it and what do I need to order and all that. And then I made a little calendar invite to myself it used to be every Monday, now it's every Wednesday, of ordering mail. And so it wasn't sent to anybody, it was just a reminder to myself to do it. And then I was able to get into the groove of, okay, this is what I do on Mondays. And my body got used to it. My mind got used to it. So
Hmm.
I'm hardly ever motivated. Maybe once a month after, I listen to a really cool podcast or I go to a conference where there's these awesome people doing, way cooler stuff than I'm doing. And I come home and for the next, 24, 48 hours, I'm super excited. But other than
Yeah.
that, I don't think anyone's ever motivated for all the time.
Yeah. Well, and you said a great thing. I mean, it really comes down to just being disciplined and having your habits, right? That was what clicked for me. I mean, it was probably a year ago. My wife had said it. She was working with a fitness coach, and her fitness coach was like, "I don't care if you're motivated, just be disciplined to do it." The
Mm-hmm.
discipline is always going to be stronger than motivation because, like you said, like we call it church camp high. Like you go to an event and you come back and you're like, I'm excited, I'm going to change the world for 2 days, and then normal life sets back in and you're like, nah, I'm good. And
Yeah.
move on to whatever you're doing. So having that discipline and those habits is extremely important.
I always like to talk about this on the consistency part, but also the follow-up part. So you're sending tons of mail. I take it you're not just sending the mail once and hoping for a phone call and not doing anything else, right?
Right. Yeah.
Waiting for the laydown.
Yeah, waiting for it. So talk to the listeners about that. What happens when you get a return to sender? What do you do on someone that calls you, says they're kind of ready but not yet? Like, what's that process look like for you guys?
Sure. So and now that we have a sales team, it's kind of changed.
Mm-hmm.
But when leads come in, they're, tire kickers or someone take me off your list or someone who's kind of fairly has some sort of situation that they need to sell their house.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say 8 out of the 10 leads that come in, they need some form of follow-up. And that can be really hard, especially if you have shout out to Ballpoint. When you have really good leads that come in, this is something that we had to deal with probably 6 months ago, is naturally your sales reps and myself are going to want to go after the easy pickings, right? The layup deals. And so when those come in, that's what you want to focus on. But those are only 1 or 2 out of the 10. And you don't want to go back and do the daily, the weekly daily follow-ups of calling the lead who hasn't picked up their phone in 3 weeks, like the
Mm-hmm.
boring, mundane stuff. But that's the bulk of where our deals come from. There are layups that happen, but if you want to consistently get deals, you have to follow up with your leads and create follow-up tasks for yourself. We use Resimply is our CRM that helps us create those tasks because once you start getting any bit of volume, it's very easy to forget to follow up with someone just because you have so much to do. But
Yeah.
I would say
People
the
get lost
majority,
in the shuffle.
yeah, the majority of our deals. I mean, gosh, we had one that closed last month or the month before that came into our system, I think close to 2 years ago. So it just takes it takes time, and most people just don't have the patience to do that.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are looking, and we see it in CCF, the group we met in, where people will be real gung ho for 3 to 6 months, and maybe they weren't consistent enough, or maybe the leads haven't panned out yet. But that's the thing I tell a lot of people that I talk to with real estate investing, with using direct mail, is like it takes a little time to get that momentum first and really get it. But then once you have it, like you guys have proven, you can build on that continuously by being consistent and by increasing what you're doing. And one thing that I admire about you guys a lot is you have a very easy, I don't know if it's easy, but like how many pieces of mail you need to send in order to get the amount of deals that you want based on historical data, right? You guys track that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we track it, and it's fluid, right? Like what we could close 9 months ago is different from what we could close today, just based on a number of things. The market, the type of copy we send, our sales reps experience, right? Right now we've got um, two new sales reps, new to us sales reps, and so naturally they're going to fumble.
Yeah.
So kind of baking into that number, you've got to bake that in. But yeah, it's the consistency part of it, of following up with your leads all the time. And you talked about momentum. We had a rep who went out on paternity leave 3-4 months ago, and it was so crazy to see how quickly his momentum stopped because we shut his lead flow off for the 2 weeks he was out. It
Yeah.
took him probably a good 3-4 weeks of turning the lead flow back on for him to start, momentum again. So for the
Yeah.
guys who are sending, 2,000 letters, 2,500 letters a month, and then they shut it off because they're currently working their leads, that's so painful because it takes another 3 to 4 weeks once you're like, okay, cool, I closed a deal. Now what? You've got a whole nother month of having to drop mail or whatever you're doing before
Yeah.
you're starting to see those results.
It's more painful than being consistent for a couple months while you're waiting for deals. In my opinion, it's going to cost you more money than it would to just be consistent for those 2 to 3 months while you're working leads, getting stuff done. And we talked about it. I don't remember who it was, Vince, but the 6-figure hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You do your marketing, you get a deal, then you stop. Do your marketing, you get a deal, then you stop, and you're just
Close a couple
restarting.
houses, stop. Yeah.
That roller coaster is not fun to be on. I want to get off that roller coaster as fast as possible.
Yes. I don't want to be stuck on that at all.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about that personally, just, with the new journey that Matt and I are going through is, we really want to get to a consistent spot, and, we're at a slow start right now, but I know that everything that we're doing right now consistently is going to pay off 6 months from now. Right. So if we just keep going and keep doing and keep adding and keep following up. And even though our lead flow at the moment is minimal, and, the marketing that we're doing is minimal until we can, make another deal and put that into marketing. But we know that what we're doing right now, though we might not be seeing the results, we are going to see them later on. And I'm very, very confident and a believer in that.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's almost like what you do now, you're going to see in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Typically, like I'm going through a course right now from one of my original mentors. His name's Scott Oldford, and he talks about that a lot. Of the work you're doing now, you're going to see the fruits in 3 to 6 months, and once you start seeing those, if you rest and relax, you're going to feel the pain of that as well, right? A couple months after that, and you'll be able to notice that very easily. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and it's the same thing at Ballpoint and Call Porter, with sales there. Very rarely is someone just coming in and being like, "Ooh, I want this." There's still a process of
it happens, but it's not.
Yeah, it does happen.
Like Tarah said, it's 10% of the leads. It's
right.
It's a very small percentage.
There's layups, but same thing. That someone that comes into the Call Porter pipeline, most likely 3, 4, 5 months later on down the road is when they're actually going to be coming in.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
one thing you put in your form that you sent over to us, Tara, I think would be fun to talk about is creating your dream life, right? Like you guys travel a lot. Billy's got Billy still has his Bronco, right?
Yeah, he still has
Okay.
Betty. Yep.
I want to say that I'm so jealous of that Bronco.
Oh, it's
I'm not gonna
beautiful.
lie.
Yeah,
Like,
beautiful.
She's pretty. She's pretty. She's definitely, I think, on the list of totem pole, I think Betty's above me at some days,
come on, Billy.
I know for those of you listening, it's what, a 70s Bronco, something like that.
It's a 1968 Bronco, and it's completely restored. All the bells and whistles, got a Coyote 50 engine in it, so it goes.
Yep,
And it's
very pretty.
beautiful. Yeah.
It's like baby blue kind
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
kind of color. So Billy's got that. I know you've got your really nice horse, and I know you do some competitive like riding and stuff like that. I don't know if you still do that, but you guys have a lot of fun while you're doing what you're doing. So, and I think a lot of business owners miss out on that because they're so focused on just being in the day-to-day trenches of what they're doing. So let's talk a little bit about like creating your dream life and how that pertains to business and kind of what you guys have done.
Yeah. And it's super easy to get into that like hustle culture, especially with, being a business
Mm-hmm.
owner. And I fall into that sometimes too. I'll be scrolling social media and see these people who are doing, exactly what we're doing or more than what we're doing. And they're, grinding and all they do is work. But it's like, it kind of makes for not a boring life, but just not a very well-rounded one. So,
Yeah.
our dream life, really, a couple of years ago, we were at one of the CCF events, and they had us do a dream life exercise where you sat down for 15 minutes and you outlined what your dream day would look like. If you had, anything and everything in the world, what would you want to do on like a consistent daily basis? Not like a dream vacation, like, once in a lifetime vacation, but more like, you know, Sunday through Saturday, what would your dream life look like? And so,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked us to get really detailed down to what time do you wake up? Who do you spend your mornings with? What do you eat for breakfast? What do you like to do, from 10 a.m. to 12? Like, who are you spending your time with? Um, Super detailed. And so I wrote down, and it's super weird, but I wrote down, I want to be riding horses, show jumping. That's the hobby that I do, show jump. Um, and working with my husband full time in this wholesaling business. And this was in 2021 before we had quit our day jobs. So we were still traveling a bunch, working W-2, and trying to start and scale Bumblebee. And I kid you not, 4 months later, 5 months later, we were able to quit our jobs and run Bumblebee, you know, as we are now. And then 9 months later, from when we did our dream life, I was able to buy my European horse, which has always been a dream goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just wild what you put in the air. I think it's a God thing. I know it's a God thing, but like designing your dream life in your head. I don't think enough people spend the time to really think about that. They've got like some surfacey goals of what they see on social media of like, oh, she's got a cool car, a cool purse or whatever, but like really diving into what you want. Because what I want is very different from what you guys may want. But spending the time to do that and then working towards it, it's amazing what can happen in just a very short amount of time.
Yeah. And especially if you stay focused,
Yeah.
right? Like I see that with myself. I see it with my business partner, Ryan, my brother. I see it with just all kinds of business owners, but it's very easy to get distracted and not focus on the main thing you're focusing on, or that you say you want to focus on, right? You go to an event and there's 9 new things you want to try, and it's like you can't. We've talked about this on the last couple episodes, I feel like, because it's a sticking point for me at the moment, but like just focusing on the same thing and on one thing, learning it very, very well, being very successful at it, and then adding more in. But having what the goal is out there. And whether if it's like a vision board, you pray about it, like whatever the thing is that works for you, like having something to focus on and work towards, it's kind of crazy how quick stuff can happen from what you might think. Because I remember that event where you guys were still at the W-2 job. I think it was that was a Pensacola one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, I remember that. And I was, seeing it just a couple months later of Billy quitting his job and you guys being able to do this full time. And it's very cool with what can happen in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that shiny object syndrome. I mean, that still happens to us. Like
Oh yeah, it doesn't go away.
no, and
You
it's
just have to be
so,
more disciplined.
yeah, it's so hard to do because you look over on like, the grass is greener on the other side and you're like, ooh, they're doing that and that looks like fun. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
like you can't do it. You totally can. It's just, I heard Brandon Turner talk about this years ago. Like, before you build your next bridge, make sure your current bridge is solid. So, like, that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
spending the next 12 months scaling Bumblebee Properties. Right now, we've got, there's 12 of us. We're going to scale to 25. So that way we can put middle management in place and upper management in place. So that way, like, it's running and humming on its own and it's producing what it's supposed to produce. And then we have other things we want to do. But like, if I had put the other things that I want to do in place like this year or last year, like Bumblebee would have slowed down,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be super solid, like we're building it right now. So it's easy to do, but yeah, maintaining focus on what you truly want to do, getting that done, and then moving on to the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did the conversation look like about quitting your W-2s? And what was like the deciding factor when this happens? It's okay for one of us to offboard, like, because that's got to be a good conversation between the two of you.
Yeah, there was multiple conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because we're married and we work together.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a woman, we're more naturally, we want to take less risks, right? We're more calculated, just in general. So I wanted to have a plan in place, and our plan in place was, we were going to have 6 months of emergency funds for our business. We had 6 months, 6 to 12 months. I think I actually had 12 months in there because I was psycho, of emergency funds for our personal. So even if, everything blew up, like we at least had the funds to float our life, for an extended time. And we needed consistent deal flow. So I think that back at that time, it was like consistently doing 3 or 4 deals a month. That was kind of the goal. And so we hit that pretty quickly. And we both decided to quit on the same day, put our 2 weeks in on the same day, which was very scary.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it was wild because I was thinking like, okay, maybe he quits first and then I'll stay for a couple of months. And Billy actually pushed me. He was like, you know what, this is all psychological. We've done the 3 things we need to do, right? There's literally nothing stopping you for quitting at the same time. It's all just in your head. And like, we even had like, my parents were like, why don't you work for another, 6 months just in case, right? Because they love us and they want to protect us and all the things. But
Sure.
if I hadn't quit at that time, I don't know if I would have, quite frankly, just because it was more psychological than logically. That was the time to jump.
Yeah.
So.
Were you enjoying what you're doing in a career?
At that last job, yes, I was.
Yeah.
I went through a couple of companies, through my tenure at my W-2s. I had jobs where I loved the product, but I didn't like the people. I had jobs where I liked the people, but didn't like the product. And then I finally, my last gig, I think I was only there for like 8 or 9 months, and I enjoyed both the people and the product. So that was especially hard because I was like, oh, I finally got this job that like I wasn't in love with, but I enjoyed it, right? Like it was fine. Um,
Yeah.
so that was scary too, because I was like, gosh, if this doesn't work, like, I don't think they're going to want me back. Like, I wouldn't want me back
How
if
can
I
I
walked
find this
away.
again?
Yeah.
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 What are your friends at work? Do you still like have contact with them and they know what you're doing now and they're like, damn, or you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I've got a couple of friends. They call me like, how did you do that? I've got one old boss and I love her to pieces, and she'll call me probably every 6 months with a new job that she wants me to go and do. And I'm like, no, like, I don't think she knows like exactly what we're doing. I think she just knows
Right.
that I'm happy. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Eventually she's going to be like, I have this company. Can you run it for me?
It's so funny too that the normal kind of everyday person, when you tell them I'm getting into real estate, they think realtor, right? They don't even
That's
think
true. That's true.
investment side of things. So I mean, I can't tell you how many people, like I did start in retail. I don't do it anymore, but even a lot of my friends now are like, you're a realtor, right? And I was like,
no.
no, it's not quite what we're
Really?
doing.
Yeah, I get that more often than not. Oh, you're a realtor. So no, no.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah.
A little bit different ballgame.
Not
Yeah.
you're like, I have more freedom.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get back to the dream life and stuff. It was I don't know, a handful of podcasts ago. I have this dream of taking all my kids. I don't know if I have 5 kids, Tara. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew you
Um,
had kids, but I didn't know you had like a basketball
a whole
team. Oh
a
my
whole litter, a
Uh-huh.
whole litter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
He's brave.
yeah.
yeah. So, I'm originally from Alaska, and only one of my kids has been to Alaska with me. Not all of them. And I really want to get an RV and just drive from St. Louis to Alaska, spend a couple of months doing that. Still got a ton of family up there, and it was a podcast, and it was a while ago, but the guy was like, how much money do you need to do that? Probably what, 10, 12 grand. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's one wholesale deal. He's like, go get that done and take your kids to Alaska, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you're I guess you're kind of right. So, that's really a goal for me is, if it can't happen this summer, like the following summer, like that's one of the things, just a small thing that I'm really trying to work towards is, giving that experience to the kids. And Justin does that smaller trips.
Mhm.
You don't go very far, but
Not with the current
you've
camper
kind of
we have. I need a bigger one to do that.
right. Yeah. And I'm sure it's going to be a nightmare with kids in an RV. But it'll also be a fun experience.
Oh,
But
you'll
It'll
like
remember
that's
that for forever.
It's so much
yeah,
fun,
Forever.
dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
it's challenging,
you
but
know,
it's fun.
yeah, that's a goal that I have. Right away is to make sure that I can secure that real quick, and then obviously retire Susie. So
So so that exercise that Tara talks about, we do that at the beginning of every CCF event. And we got that from another mastermind that we were in. What I would tell you to do is like look up, like find exact prices of what that would cost, what gas is going to cost. If you rent an RV, what that's going to cost. You could rent a drivable one and tow your Suburban, your Subaru behind you up there. But like you could literally calculate out how much that trip would cost, and I bet you it's less than you think it is. Like that's a usually a very big realization whenever we do this exercise, as like, well, because we'll have people like dream huge, right? Like, do you want a chef? Do you want a house on the beach? Do you want, like, what do you want? And once you back into what that monthly number is, it's a lot more attainable than you think it is. Like as someone who's, you're started running a business and you do stuff here with us too, but like once you realize how attainable most of it is, it's a lot easier to get done. And it happens quicker than you think.
I think
Yeah,
we get
I
spoiled
believe
with
that.
real estate in like, you and I talk about like, you've got a big assignment fee, right? Coming up, a $50,000 assignment fee. That's a big one.
Hmm.
But our, national average assignment fee for wholesalers is like 15 grand, which like
Hmm.
you and I toss out that number, like it's 15 grand, whatever. Like I spent,
Still a lot of money.
there's still a
Yeah.
lot of money, and we
Yep.
forget how like 15 grand, I wouldn't make that at my day job in, it would take me 3 months to make that. Now, like
Mhm.
I don't even blink at 15 grand, which that sounds weird, right? But like, I think
I
the
get it.
point, the
Yeah.
point is how easy it is, not how simple it is. It's not easy, how
Hmm.
simple it is to make 15 grand through wholesaling, flipping, even if
Yeah.
you buy and hold real estate correctly, how quickly that is. And we
Yeah.
do kind of that dream life exercise. We do that. Billy and I once a year will go on like an annual planning trip and we'll redefine our dream life because it changes, right? Like we check off those bucket list things and they might, something that was a huge dream of mine or his, we do it and we're
Hmm.
like, that was cool, but like let's go do something else. So things ebb and
Yeah.
flow. And so kind of recalculating, especially with your family, especially if you have kids, and more importantly, putting a game plan in place so that way it gets done.
Hmm.
Annually, we redefine what our goals are, our dream goals, personal goals, business goals, and then we take those and we break those down into that calendar year into like
Yeah.
tactical steps on like how can I tactically move the ball forward a little bit. So kind of like what Justin was saying, if your goal is to, take a trailer up to Alaska by, let's call it December 31st of this year. Okay, well, this month I'm going to go look at pricing. How much is a trailer?
Hmm.
What does, the camping fees cost on the way to Alaska, gas, all that stuff. And then April, maybe I'm going to start looking at what's the best time to go and drive up there. And then in May, I'm going to do, some tactical steps
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single month. And that's what
Yeah.
we tell our team that we're building. I will, one of my big goals for this team is for them to hit their personal goals. And so
Mm.
we focus a lot on their personal goals and having them hit their personal goals. Because most people in life, they have goals. It's kind of out there, but they haven't,
Hmm.
it's never been solidified by someone
Yeah.
on like,
Yeah.
okay, you want a Ferrari. Great. Do you know how much Ferraris are? Okay. How do you back that in? Okay, you want a Ferrari in 5 years? How do you start saving today? What are the steps to get that? What color Ferrari do you want? Like what size,
Hmm.
what type, whatever. Um, I just don't think they don't put a plan in place for those goals if they even
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
what their goals are.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
wish.
Yeah.
Wish
Yeah. A
list.
hope.
Yeah, hope,
Yeah.
a dream, not necessarily a
Yeah.
goal yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's cool. I like
Wouldn't
that.
I be like the poster child of someone on the road with an RV and a Subaru behind it?
You would. They'd be like, he's going camping.
He's going out in the woods.
Yeah.
So
Oh
funny.
man, I love my Subaru. I don't think I'm deviating from Subaru anytime soon.
They're great cars. I've never had one,
Yeah.
but my mom had one. They're great.
Yeah. Your mom sent me the cargo net for my Subaru when I bought it.
Oh, did
She's
she?
like, yeah, she's like, I never used this. It's just in a box. Do you want it? And I was like, sure, I'll take it.
That's funny. So Tara, Vinny and my mom used to work together at a church that my wife and I met at a long time ago. That's how we
Fun.
met Vinny a long time ago. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's great.
Good old Dossie fam at
Yep.
Destiny Church.
Yep. Now I'm the only one left here. Everyone. Oh no, my
That,
sister lives here. I always forget she lives here now. The rest of my family
that
moved.
that's when Justin and Ryan were straight up emo.
Uh-huh.
Like,
I've seen pictures. I've seen flashbacks, at least of Ryan. Justin, I don't know if I've seen flashbacks of you.
I'll
Think,
find
yeah,
one, and because
where's
we can
the emo,
share
bro?
screens on here, I'm just gonna find it and share it.
yeah,
Just for the
gift us
world.
with that.
Just for the YouTube audience that actually watches.
Yeah,
the
you
video.
guys get a
Yeah.
special treat. And if you're listening on audio, you got to go find this on YouTube. Where is it? Hang on. So here is where's the share screen button?
This is our first share screen.
So this is our wedding picture.
Oh my goodness.
And there is so like here's more had like the long emo hair.
Did you dye it?
I did. It was black
Oh
at that
my
point. I
gosh.
straightened it. I did all of the
Kind of like that little swoop action going on.
Yeah.
did all of the emo stuff. Like I was probably 19, like was in a metal band, had the long emo hair. all
Okay,
that
do you
all
still
that
have
fun
your
stuff.
straightener?
No, no,
No.
my wife has one.
We we just did a call Porter commercial where we're all emo, by the way.
And I was the only one not dressed up emo. I
Yeah,
was
you were
the
not
mom.
emo.
Oh my gosh.
Just wait until you see Jeremy Nip as emo.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he will rock that. He'll rock that like no one's business.
I'll text you the video when we're done, Tara, so you can see it before
Okay.
everybody else. It's pretty funny.
That's great.
Cool. So we talked about that. Here's a good thing we could talk about. Building a wholesale company to find your rentals. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm assuming this is something you guys do, is find your own rentals instead of buying them from somebody else. What does that kind of look like? How do you guys do that in your business and decide, hey, this one's a rental, right? Like what does that look like for you guys?
Sure. And that was kind of the reason why we started the wholesaling business to begin with. Back when I said we still had our W-2 jobs, we had a couple rentals. Um, when I learned what a wholesale was, I was like, I don't need that extra income. Like we make decent money. Like I don't need that. But having that mindset shift of you broaden your funnel if you're searching for all just a good deal. And then depending on how the good deal is, how the numbers pan out, then you kind of funnel it into, okay, it's a rental. No, it's a flip. No, it's a wholesale. No, it's a wholesale. So that was a good mindset shift for me when we got started. Because I know a lot of people, at least like who got the good grades, get the good job, that have like a decent amount of money. That's how I got unstuck, was that mindset shift. But our buy box, it's I think it's constantly evolving, just depending on where you're at, like in your business, in your portfolio, that kind of thing. But right now, we're keeping rentals that first hit the BRR model, right? We pretty much BRR everything. And it's got to be a 1986 build or newer. So we're not really messing with like plumbing or electric. We've done a couple of those, and those end up being more of a pain than not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And have to be in decently good areas, but that's pretty much what we market to anyways. So it's not like we don't market to seedy areas, so that we don't really have to filter. It's got to be at least 2,200 square feet or smaller. I don't need these McMansions to fill renters in. That's just a little harder. We have made a couple of exceptions. We bought one as a rental a couple months ago, but we really bought its debt. It's a very nice house. It's a, I don't know, 2005 build. And we bought it for $475,000, which is way above what we normally buy houses at.
Yeah.
We normally buy houses that meet the 1% rule. So we're like within like ARVs, probably like 175. So this is way higher than what we're used to. But we bought it because the owner would owner finance it to us at 0% interest rate. So we were really buying the debt. That's what we were really doing. So there are some caveats to that buy box. But when a lead comes in, we figure out it's a deal. Our sales reps and Billy really kind of filter down what are our options. Do we wholesale it, flip it, or keep it as a rental? And whatever proves the highest ROI, we typically go with that, unless there's other stuff sitting in our pipeline right now that we just either, we've got too many flip projects going on and our crews are too busy and we don't have the bandwidth, then we'll, wholesale it or we'll wholesale it. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And because right now, would you say like, is it like 80% you guys are wholesaling and the rest is kind of, I mean, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but what does that usually look like for you guys?
It's historically been like that. We're starting to take down a few more, just because honestly, it's easier to wholesale than have to deal with buyers.
True.
So we've out of the 365 contract goal that we have this year, 280 is our goal to close. So we've got fallout rate, right? Everyone has fallout, whether it's bad title and seller ghosts, we can't find a buyer, whatever. So
Yeah.
285 closed contracts. Of those, our goal is to do 24 rentals, 24 flips, 56 wholesales, and then the rest are wholesales. So that's
nice.
yeah. So it's slowly going. It's slowly kind of getting a little bit more even of wholesales versus we take down and do something with it.
Yeah. Is somebody licensed on your team, or are you just, when you put those on the MLS, or do you got a realtor friend that you're working with all those?
We have a realtor friend that does all of the listing for us. She coordinates the schedules, takes the photos, all the things. We do have a couple of agents, or they have their license that they work for us on our team. But we have a designated agent that's all she does for us.
I bet she loves you.
Yeah, and she's
Yeah, no
awesome. I could have there could be a whole segment on working with agents, because fun fact, last year, and don't hold me to this exact statistic, but last year, 48% of agents nationwide only did one deal.
Oof.
So most agents are just, I'm sorry, trash. Like they just don't, not trash, but like
You're not wrong.
They think they know things because they took a test and they got a license to make them know things.
My sister's realtor, when they were
the lawsuit that just happened too.
Yeah. My sister's realtor that she used to try it when she was looking for houses out here, tried telling her it would cost her $9,000 to fix popcorn ceiling in a 1,500 square foot house. And I was like, no, it won't. It'll cost you a couple $100 and some material to scrape it. Like,
go to Home Depot and go get the freaking scraper thing and do it yourself.
I was like, you don't have to pull all the drywall out and redo it. I was like, that is so bad.
Yeah,
we did it in this house.
Yeah,
took down popcorn ceiling.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway,
my contractor did it in a day.
Yeah,
it's not hard. Like it's time consuming, but it's not hard.
Yeah, I just to put a sticker on that, like as we get more volume, having an agent that is able to be like proactive in your deals and being able to be like, hey, this is what I did for the buyer wanted X, Y, and Z. I countered at ABC because you want X. And that is such a nice shift. Most agents will call you and be like, what do you want? I don't like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Like, I'll push paper, but what do you want me to do? And that's a very reactive approach. And having a really good agent that is proactive in what they're doing, gosh, that makes life so much easier, especially when you've got, like, I don't know, I think we've got like 10 listings right now. So it's just, there's just a lot of balls going on up in the air. So that's nice to have.
Yeah, it really is. And it's wild that it's almost half of them have only did one deal last year. That's a crazy statistic. Somewhere around there. I know we won't quote you exactly.
Yeah,
but that's still crazy.
Yep. But that's life though, right? Like wholesalers, that's probably even worse for the wholesaling industry, right? It's what's the Pareto principle, Pareto whatever, the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I mean, we've had it happen too, where we also have it on the other side where we have an issue. Literally today, we're trying to solve where our buyer for a deal we're closing on tomorrow backed out today. So we're like, cool. So we either need to find somebody or close on it now for the next 2 weeks until we can get another buyer in there. So always something new that'll come up that you got to solve.
Never a dull moment.
No, not at all. Well, cool. Vince, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I think, we typically always like to end, the podcast on, this is the Next Deal podcast. So someone getting into this business that's newer, what would you recommend to them getting started? I know we talked a little bit about the consistency piece at the beginning. So anything you could add to that, any encouragement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's always slow at the beginning, right? You're probably looking at someone's chapter 20 when you're at chapter 1. So don't get bogged down with like if the first deal doesn't work. Like that's okay. Just continue to find leads in whatever route you can find them. It doesn't have to be direct mail, even though we love direct mail. You can do a whole bunch of different types of, you can go prospecting, you can work with agents. There's a whole bunch of different avenues to find, as long as you have a good deal. That is the hardest thing to do in this space, is to have a good deal. You will find a buyer. Don't worry about finding buyers. Just find a good deal. The buyers will come. And just, yeah, like be consistent. That's pretty much all I got.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Be consistent, and yes, you will find buyers. That's the easiest part of the job, I feel like. is to sell the property. That's the easy part.
I also want to mention this is apart from that, just following you guys on social. I love that you call your team the Hive, by the way.
Yeah, I like that.
Mention that. And it just seems like you have such a cool team of people working together, and your office space is awesome. And then I saw you guys eating lunch or something like that together yesterday, and giving a shout out to whoever provided you lunch. And I just like it. People see that. So like, if you're not following Tarah, freaking follow her. See what they've got going on. They really are just genuine, people that are doing the work and living life. And it's fantastic to see you. I live vicariously through your Instagram a lot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Our team, I love our team, and I can say that because I think they enjoy us back. But just
They probably do.
Yeah.
I think just enjoying the people you work with, and that makes such a big difference, because I mean, sales is hard, right? And we're in a sales and marketing business, and sales can be brutal, especially with like the types of houses that we cater to. Can be the conversations, like you hear that whatever someone's dealing with, most of the time it's not something that's fun, right? And they need to get it out of their house because of something that's not going right. So having those hard conversations can be super demoralizing for our reps. So they truly do all have hearts of gold, and I think that shows and is a reflection of how many contracts we can get in a month, because they take the time to get to know our sellers and get to know, like, they just truly want to help them versus looking for a paycheck.
Right. Yeah. They're there helping and providing a service instead of just trying to make money.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. Well, that's a great way to end this episode. Tarah, thank you for coming on. I know we had a quick minute of technical difficulties, but we'll get that fixed. No problem. It's happened plenty of times. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.